Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and first of all, I've got to say big kudos to the Republicans, or at least the Freedom Caucus, I assume that's who it was, who stormed the skiff and surprised Adam Schiff. I would have loved to have seen his face. It's too bad somebody didn't have like a camera rolling or something. I know that they block cell service, but I would think you'd be able to like video something. And I wish they would have had their cameras running and videoed what was going on in Schiff's face when all of this happened. You know, one of those reporters outside should have stepped around the corner and got that, because that would have been a golden opportunity to see his reaction on that. It would have been spectacular. Oh, so anyway, I want to give you a little bit of an overview because, wow, you know what's going on here? Durham's probe shifts to senior Obama officials, and we've now heard that he wants to interview Brennan and Clapper. Gonna be very interesting on that. And this thing is really starting to explode. So this is exciting, folks, because we know a lot of stuff is going to start coming out. And I am just almost giddy over it. I heard, and I could not find any verification on this, but I heard from a radio host that they have subpoenaed a certain online email company. Now, they didn't specify who, but if it's Gmail, then that means they've got the Gmail account. And if they've got the Gmail account, oh, you know what's going to come out from that. Oh, this is so exciting. I'm sorry. I just really have been waiting for this. When that Gmail account comes out and they know that all these people had a shared Gmail account and they were using it instead of sending emails to each other, they used the draft folder and they would write their emails in there and never send them because they thought that if they didn't send them, they'd never get caught. Ha ha ha. Oh, but the good guys are so much better than that. So exciting. Anyway, you may have read this on Fox News. Catherine Herridge had a good article about it, but I wanted to show you this one on the Epic Times because they kind of gather in several different things. But it was reportedly the meetings Durham and Attorney General William Barr recently had in Rome, where they obtained new evidence that were the impetus for the broadening of the scope of the probe. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Broadening of the scope of the probe. Yep. And so, according to Herridge, the meetings took place on August 15th and September 27th in Rome, and that it was during one or both of these trips that Barr and Durham gathered new evidence. Dum, dum, dum. Ooh, how exciting. And the reason this is really exciting is because so much is going to be coming out. To me, the idea that they're expanding this probe means they're starting to see just how far it reaches. Okay, it's a lot more people involved than you may think. There's a lot of people involved in this. And what's going to be happening? I mean, see here that Joseph Mifsud, I told you about the 2 Blackberries that they got that were his. That's going to be huge, folks. Gonna be huge, because that's how I think maybe they're going to find out about the Gmail account. I hope that starts coming out. But, you know, we're not going to hear about any of this until the investigation is fully done. And that's the way it's supposed to be because, you know, they don't talk about ongoing investigations. But because it's an investigation, here's my thinking on this. Now, I may or may not be right on this, but we'll find out, I guess, won't we? What if we're talking about this expansion of the investigation because Durham has been working with Horowitz? Okay, now y'all remember back in, March 29th of 2018, I had a letter that I shared with you. It was from Jeff Sessions to Gowdy, Goodlatte, and Grassley, and it was telling them we don't need a second special counsel because we've got Horowitz is working with Huber, and they're going to be coordinating that because Horowitz can only investigate people. He can't actually prosecute. Okay, he can recommend criminal prosecution, but he can't actually prosecute. Whereas a U.S. attorney, which Durham is one, and so is Huber, they can prosecute. So they can impanel grand juries and they can have all that going on. All right. Now, what if, and I think this is probably what's happening, is that Durham has worked with Horowitz in coordinating these things. Because if you remember in the past, whenever I've shown you different IG reports that would come out and they would say that, the DOJ declined prosecution. Okay, that comes out when the report comes out. That's in the executive summary. So here's my thinking. Does that mean that before we will actually see this FISA abuse report, then the DOJ is already going to have to make a decision whether they're going to prosecute those recommended for criminal prosecution? I think so. I think those are already going to have to be decided and will probably already be indicted by the time we see the FISA report. Now, again, could be wrong. I definitely could, because I am not a lawyer. I'm, not a legal assistant or anything like that. Paralegal. I don't know that stuff. But it just makes sense, and it follows the pattern that has been there before. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe that's why this has expanded. That's one reason, okay? Another reason it's probably expanded is because Horowitz can only deal with people who are or were at the time employees of the Department of Justice, okay? He can't deal with people who were never employed there. So that's where Durham steps in. He's the one who can go after the people who were not working for our government, were not working for the DOJ even. I mean, they could be in another part of the government. So, I think maybe there's some things going on behind the scenes, lots and lots. And there's a reason why, he has done this. They were talking about this all has to do with the Michael Flynn thing, which, again, if you watch that video of mine, you already know. And earlier this month, on October 5th, Politico reported that Durham had not requested interviews with any of the FBI or DOJ employees who were directly involved in or knew about the opening of the Russia investigation in 2016, according to people familiar with the matter. I think this is kind of funny because then we turn around. According to an October 19th New York Times article, Durham has already interviewed about 24 former and current FBI officials, and that the number of interviews shows that Mr. Durham's review is further along than previously known. Oh, yeah. And so the paper also reported that Durham's efforts were being aided by 2 former senior FBI agents who were assisting with the review. Now, I do want to point this out to you because one of them was this Eckenrode. Now, Eckenrode worked with Patrick J. Fitzgerald in the 2003 Valerie Plame leak case. All right, if you don't know about that, you need to watch my video on the Louis Gohmert document where he was talking about the Scooter Libby case, because that's the whole frame up of Scooter Libby there. So, yeah, I kind of am a little hesitant knowing that Eckenrode is part of that. But, of course, everybody says, oh, he's just a wonderful guy. If you read the New York Times, this is a New York Times article, and they talk about that and they say, oh, he's just such a wonderful person. He's such a good guy. Well, remember, this is the New York Times, folks. If you read this, I'll leave the link down below. But if you read it, please remember who you're talking about and where it's coming from, because it's just very interesting. Anyway, they even have to bring up the Ukraine thing. By the way, they're trying to say that Barr needs to be recused from anything Ukraine because, well, he was mentioned in the transcript of that Ukraine call. Oh, how awful. Yeah, the New York City Bar is trying to say that. I mean, like the lawyer bar, and they're trying to say that he needs to step down. If not, he actually should maybe be investigated and probably disbarred because of it. It's like, really? Oh, because of this investigation that they're doing. Yeah, these people are desperate. They're desperate. But anyway, as of this, it says he's not spoken with Peter Strzok. I don't think he's spoken with the big guys. I think he's spoken with the little people so far, and he's working his way up. But John Brennan did say on TV, like CNN or MSNBC, I don't remember which, he said that, yes, he was going to have to go in and talk to Durham. So that's going to be interesting, won't it? Oh, so exciting. Yeah, so exciting. I wanted to show you down here, if I can find it. Here it is. Mr. Durham's questions seem focused on elements of the conservative attacks on the origins of the Russia inquiry. It's not clear whether he has asked about other parts of the sprawling investigation, which has grown to include more than 2,800 subpoenas, nearly 500 search warrants, 13 requests to foreign governments for evidence and interviews of about 500 witnesses. I mean, look at the scope of that. It's like bigger than Mueller. And he's done it a whole lot faster. So, yeah, I think this is really interesting. And that's why I was thinking Horowitz's report, that's why we haven't seen it yet. Because Horowitz's report is going to lead to criminal referrals. And the criminal referrals will have to be dealt with probably first before the report comes out. So, I'm kind of thinking maybe some people might be indicted before that. So that's what I'm kind of thinking on this. Also, I wanted to point out, they just say it's conspiracy theories. Closely overseen by Mr. Barr, Mr. Durham and his investigators have sought help from governments in countries that figure into right-wing attacks and unfounded conspiracy theories about the Russia investigation. Unfounded. Oh, yeah, unfounded. You know, they have nothing to support themselves, but we believe unfounded conspiracy theories. Oh, they are the biggest conspiracy theorists ever. Anyway, then there's a second mention of it. Though criticism has been set off by the revelations that Mr. Durham is examining politically tinged accusations and outright conspiracy theories about the origins of the Russia investigation, he would naturally have to run down all leads to conduct a thorough review. Well, at least they granted him that. But I'll tell you, they are just trying their best to make it all go away or to discredit it before it all starts coming out. There's no way they're going to stop it. They're not stopping it now. Anyway, in the course of all this, they're trying to point out, and I can't remember which article it was, one of these two articles mentioned that, yes, here's where Brennan told MSNBC that I'm supposedly going to be interviewed by Durham, Mr. Durham, as part of this non-investigation. Yeah, non-investigation. Keep saying that. Now, see, Clapper is looking at it differently. Clapper is trying his best to weasel his way out. He's been trying to say everything he can to make it like, well, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing kind of thing. And I really probably focused on poor intel, and you know, that's what he's trying to say. Brennan, on the other hand, is going to be somebody who's going to deny it till the day he dies. He could watch himself in a video and hear his own voice saying something, and he will still deny it. So, you know, that's just how Brennan works. That's him. So I will leave these links down below. They're really both good articles, but you do have to remember on the New York Times one that you are reading the New York Times. Just remember that. Anyway, I wanted to point this part out to you. Brennan put together this fusion center at the CIA. Okay, fusion like as in fusion GPS. I don't know, but fusion center at CIA that brought NSA and FBI officers together with CIA to make sure that those proverbial dots would be connected. This is when they were doing the Trump investigation. Additionally, Brennan and some of his CIA analysts, along with DNI Clapper, were responsible for a series of 3 reports that were used to promote the Trump-Russia collusion story. The first report was released on October 7th, 2016, and the second on December 29th, 2016. See, they were setting it up even back then. The third report was called Assessing Russian Activities and Intentions in Recent U.S. Elections, also known as the Intelligence Community Assessment, that's the ICA, was released on January 6, 2017. The ICA claimed that Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump and stated that Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances when possible by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him. They didn't have to do that. She just already is unfavorable. Oh, anyway, so that's their claim. See, they were setting it up even back then. And so then it goes on. The report played a key role in advancing the now disproven allegation that Trump colluded with Russia, which is why I like reading the Epoch Times first instead of, the New York Times. By the way, just to let you know, I saw an ad on a YouTube video that was for the Epoch Times to get a subscription, which I think might be a good idea. I'm going to get it and see what happens. But, he said Epoch Times. So it's the American way of saying it. The epoch, yeah, you can say it that way if you want, but it's more common. Epic. It's not epic, it's epoch. I don't know. Anyway, but whatever. I digress. While Brennan denied before Congress using the Steele dossier in the ICA, he did attach a 2-page summary of the dossier to the ICA that he, along with Clapper and Comey, delivered to then-President Barack Obama on when? January 6th, before the inauguration. So, notably, Admiral Mike Rogers, then head of the NSA, publicly dissented from the findings of the ICA, assigning it only a moderate confidence level, and later told Congress that the report didn't have the same level of sourcing and the same level of multiple sources. Okay? So, in the course of things, I was looking through the rest of this, and they were talking about a May 2017, congressional testimony, and here's that with Clapper, where Clapper lied. So did Brennan. And that Devin Nunes has seen the electronic communication, and he stated, "We now know that there was no official intelligence that was used to start this investigation." Okay, he said that a long time ago, and Trey Gowdy has backed him up on that. Okay, now, in the course of all this, for some reason, Mike Rogers came up. It's got to be somewhere in one of the articles, but I don't remember exactly where. But I was referenced to this particular hearing on cybersecurity threats and defense strategy, May 9th, 2017. And I've got a clip I want to show you, okay? For those of you who happen to follow the 17th letter of the alphabet, you need to watch this, because I think he's talking about us. So here we go.
Just a matter of a few weeks ago, we happened to be in Israel, and we met and talked to their National Cyber Directorate, is Dr. Evitar Montanya, for a cyber subcommittee meeting. He actually came over, and we had it was Senator Rounds who was with me at that time, and of course he chairs the subcommittee, and we had a meeting that I think was pretty productive. That Dr. Montano was very careful not to say that perhaps there might be doing something better there than we're doing. He said it's much more complex in the United States because of the size and all of that. But he also pointed out 3 things that were significant. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts, or if you studied their system, and maybe some other countries too. So what they're doing.
With the case of Dr. Montanya, there's a reason why every time I'm in Tel Aviv, I see him, and every time he's in the United States, he sees us.
I knew that's the case. He said the same thing.
From each other, and in fact, we are talking about some potential test cases that we could use with a new team in place, so we'll see how that plays out over time. But I look to him. One of the things that I have learned in my journey in cyber is there is no one single organization, group, or entity that has all the answers. So it's about the power of partnerships here, and how do you create a system that enables you to gain insight and knowledge from a whole host of partners, some within the United States, outside the United States, within the government, the academic world, industry. He's one example of the power of that to me.
Yeah, I kind of got that impression too. When General Alexander was in that position, he spent some time out at the University of Tulsa, and I know there are many other schools too. Mm-hmm. The chairman asked the question, are we having access to the people that are going to become necessary to staff this new, very serious problem that we have? Is there an effort going back to some of these schools and to promote the programs as were promoted in that particular university?
Oh, there is. Between NSA and Cyber Command, we have relationships right now with over 200 academic institutions around the United States, because that's in part the future workforce for us. Although one thing I try to highlight is be leery of creating a cyber force where everyone is cookie cutters. We need to get a broad range of skills and experience here. And some people are going to be really good at this, and they won't necessarily have advanced education, but they've spent much of their personal life in this. So we've got to build a construct where we can get that full spectrum of capability.
So yeah, he's talking about people who have cyber abilities, but are not the standard, we went through college, we got our degree type people. Now, who do you think that sounds like? Yep, I'm kind of thinking it sounds like all those people on the website that shall not be named, but y'all know which one I'm talking about. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. All right, so that's what I've got on this one. I'll leave this down below. It is a good article. He tends to write kind of long ones, but just be aware that this is going on. And here's the stats again. 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 13 requests to foreign governments for evidence, and interviews of about 500 witnesses. Wow, that's quite a bit. And so Barr said, you know, back in May of 2019, he said, I had a lot of questions about what was going on. I assumed I'd get answers when I went in, and I have not gotten answers that are satisfactory. And in fact, probably have more questions, and that some of the facts that I've learned don't hang together with the official explanations of what happened. Yeah, that was back in May, and I remember when he did that one, they were kind of surprised that he said that, but, you know, he had been watching the entire situation before it all happened, and he was well aware from the outside how it looked. And he figured, oh, when I get in there, I'll find out what's really going on. And it wasn't that way. He found out there were a lot more questions to be asked. So that's what I'm thinking with this whole thing. I think probably one reason why we haven't seen the Horowitz report yet is that they are working on those criminal referrals. Are they going to accept them? Are they not? And, you know, building cases, having the indictments come out. I just kind of think that either they're going to come out simultaneously or they may come out shortly thereafter. But I think there's got to be a close connection between them. And Durham is going to be the one to do the prosecutions, probably, because that's what he is investigating. So it could very well be one of the reasons why we're not seeing it yet. But from what I've heard, there's infighting going on. And there are some people who are desperately trying to get more of it redacted than the other people want to have redacted. So that's just the scuttlebutt I'm hearing, so I don't know how accurate that is, or if maybe this is the reason that they're waiting till they can get all the indictments ready to go. That could be it too. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.